alive. When the group failed to return by February 12th, as planned, their families grew anxious. Days passed with no word from the hikers. It wasn't until February 20th, after desperate pleas from the families, that a search party was finally dispatched. What they would discover over the following weeks would ignite one of the greatest mysteries in modern history. The first searchers found the group's tent on February 26th. It was empty, and more disturbingly, it had been slashed open from the inside. Personal belongings, shoes, clothing, cameras, and food were still inside, left in a hasty, chaotic manner. Footprints, some barefoot, led away from the tent in different directions. The searchers followed the tracks, hoping to find survivors, but what they found instead would only deepen the mystery. About 500 meters down the slope, near the edge of the forest, searchers came across the remains of a small campfire and two bodies, those of Yuri Krivonychenko and Dido Roshenko, lying under a cedar tree. Both were dressed in only their underwear, despite the freezing temperatures. Their hands were badly burned, likely from trying to warm themselves near the fire. But the cold had claimed them before they could survive the night. Above them, on the cedar tree's branches, were signs that one of them had climbed up, perhaps in an attempt to spot the tent or something in the distance. The bark was stripped, and branches had been broken off high above the ground, indicating desperation. As the search expanded, more bodies were found. The next three, Dyatlov, Zinaida, Kolmogorova, and Rustem Slobodin, were discovered at various distances between the tent and the tree, as if they had been trying to return to the camp. They too were inadequately dressed. Rustem had a fractured skull, and Zinaida had bruising on her body, suggesting a violent struggle or a fall, but nothing definitive could explain their injuries. It wasn't until May that the last four bodies were found, buried deep in a ravine further into the forest. The conditions they were found in defied explanation. Nikolai Thibault-Brignol had massive skull fractures. Semyon Zolotaryov and Alexander Kolevatov had severe chest injuries that doctors compared to being hit by a car. Yet, bizarrely, none of them had external wounds that could explain the force that caused their deaths. Even stranger, one of the female hikers, Ludmila Dubinina, was missing her tongue, eyes, and parts of her lips. Even the terrain surrounding the bodies seemed unusual. The snow around them had a peculiar orange hue, and some of their clothing was found to have traces of radiation. This only fueled the growing speculation that something far more sinister had occurred on the slopes of Kholat Syakhl.